Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Tran and I are in the building. It's been a little bit since we've had some Texas football talk. Shout out to Texas Football Talk, one of my favorite YouTube channels out there. But, fellow fans, we're all talking ball here. And Tran and I wanted to just quickly react to the news of Gary Patterson, reported by 247 Sports, accepting a role here at the University of Texas as special assistant to the head coach. Before I get Tran's explanation as to what the hell that means, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, BUSR. BUSR.com/fanatic. Promo code right now is sports100FP. You can go on there and sign up. They'll have a drop down. They'll put the manual code in so you can see there's a 5-time rollover on there, 100% match on all deposits. So go on there, bsr.com/fanatic. Make sure you go to the site. We'll take care of you. A lot of us right now betting on divisional round games this weekend. A lot of people, a lot of action against the spread with some really, really good road teams out there, some good quarterback matchups. Take advantage. Prop bets last weekend. Jamar Chase, 71.5 on the receiving yards. He had to take the over against the Oakland Raiders. So a lot of cool bets you can do on there. I know that I did last weekend and had a lot of fun despite the Cowboys' loss, money and all that. But we ain't going to go there right now, Tran. Also, Gain, Ngannou, big UFC bout.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, right? So you'll see that right on the banner as you go on there. Tran, I'm excited Gary's here, and we're going to get into just pros and cons. But what does this position mean? What does special assistant to the head coach mean, reportedly?
First thing I want to know is the people in HR creating that job listing, did they start laughing when they saw it? I mean, it's ridiculous, honestly. But to me, what it says is that probably when he got his walking papers from TCU, there's probably a stipulation to make sure that he gets all of his money for the leftover contract, that he can't take a coaching position per se. So this allows him to be on the staff and allow him to be an analyst, or I'm pretty sure he's going to be mostly on the defensive side of the ball, analyst to help out with what we need help with. I mean, we were one of the worst defensive units in the nation last year. So, all the help we can get is great.
So, it's interesting because you may be onto something there in regards to the contractual stipulations leaving TCU, because we do know that there was reports from most different paid sites that he was looking at other potential coaching opportunities. Mm-hmm. I'm sure when those things happen, though, that there's some sort of buyout clause that would work back towards TCU. So if you come on board at Texas, if you take a special role, then does that, because that, to your point, this thing took a long time. We've been hearing about Gary Patterson's name since before the new year. This is not new in terms of the news. It's just that today it was actually reported that he's been onboarded. And then, yesterday's basketball game against Kansas State, he's there, right, at Frank Irwin Center. So, all these things are happening, and he's now being quoted, and there are reports that he was at the start of workout. So he's clearly involved. I mean, I'll be honest with y'all. When we did a Twitter Spaces, so it was myself, Texas Homer, 40 Acre Landlord, a whole bunch of us on there. This was, I want to say now, maybe now 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was kind of after, we were more so reacting after talking about the recruiting class and signing day and whatever. The Gary Patterson news kind of went up and down in our fan base, right? In terms of, because it just took so long and then there was silence. So we had a coach from the DFW area who was one of the people that had coached Terrence Brooks at one point in time. Shout out to Charlie. Charlie comes on and just starts talking, and he's like,
drop the drop
he
the
just
news.
starts talking.
Just
He's like,
slid
yeah,
it in there.
these kids are gonna be, these kids are gonna be coached well under Terrence Brooks or I'm sorry, or not. They're gonna be coached well under Gary Patterson
Yeah.
and having multiple guys in your secondary, whether they're safeties or nickels or corners, be good in man coverage so you can mix and match more and match up in your zones and all this type of stuff. And it was really, really good commentary. But it was like, whoa, wait a second, Gary Patterson. Because I was like, to my knowledge, we were texting, did Terry Joseph get let go? Did Blake Gideon let go? Like, what's going on? And so that tells us that behind the scenes, they were telling people behind the scenes that Gary Patterson was going to be here, right? And so that also leads to, the young man Mathis, who, we are obviously in pursuit of right now, who could immediately be, our starting jack next year if we were able to land his services, who played for Gary, was recruited by Gary. But I want to kind of get into how we feel about it. I mean, because I think right now we've just kind of reacted to the news and what the role is. Nobody knows what this role is going to be per se, but I kind of want to go into more so, do you like the move? How do you feel about the move?
I do like the move. I like the move a lot, to tell you the truth. He is, if this is a specialty role where it's more so like a defensive analyst or a defensive co-coordinator, it's fantastic, to tell you the truth, because I can't think of an analyst that we've had in the past that comes with the credibility that he has for the Big 12 and the recruiting landscape for Texas. Honestly, I mean, he has the buy-in on the in the DFW area, which is a fertile ground where a lot of athletes are created. So, I mean, I think his defensive mind mixed with Pete Kwiatkowski's defensive mind. Yes, it was a very bad. Yes, it was a very, very, very bad year defensively, but we have good coaches. I'm not quitting on Coach PK, and Bo Davis. He's just a legend now here at Texas. I love his intensity mixed with Coach Patterson's defensive mind. I think once we actually get the cohesion together, you're going to see this defense take off, kind of like what Coach Ash had. You remember Coach Ash had us, in proper positions,
And
blitzing
he
at the
did that
right
in one
time,
year,
and
really,
and
where he kind of developed it
he
over the course of that
he did
COVID.
it. I would say in the course of 4 games, to tell you the truth. I mean, because he didn't really have a preseason. We're going to have a preseason with everyone here finally. And with the players that we have coming back, we have no excuses not to be better on the defensive end of the ball.
Yeah, so I really think it from a standpoint. I like the move.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like the move. I really, really like the move. I don't know if I can get to a point where I can say I outright love what we're doing here. I'm gonna tell you kind of both sides of where my head's at. I like the move from the standpoint of what he brings from his, like you said, the history of the Big 12. He knows how to build a program.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Patterson, when he got there, would you say they were in the whack?
Yeah, whack.
They're in the whack. They're in the whack, and then they went to Mountain West and went to Big. Like, he was there for all that full ascension, right? And that goes across eras of college football. He was there in the polls era. He was there in the BCS era. He was there and now the playoff era, and navigating all of this at a school that was not what we used to call BCS program, right? And evolve them into that. He knows he's had credibility from a standpoint of getting people to the NFL and understanding, I think, more of the back end inner workings of what good should look like. Like you said, from a high school point, plan for development of the player, plan for how we're going to utilize the player and get the most out of some of these kids, better evaluations coming out of high school, maybe some more trusted evaluations that we weren't maybe necessarily getting before, because you have to be on point with your evaluations to do what he did. People weren't just going to sign up to play at TCU before, right? So you get that mentality and some of the inner workings of this conference. He was here, this whole Big 12 conference of what it is today. He's one of the elder statesmen here, whether you're talking about school presidents, ADs, coaches, what have you. Gary Patterson knows it as well as anybody else. I also like the fact that he seems like he wants to be here. It doesn't seem like this is just a money grab. I mean, clearly there's a relationship with his friend and previous boss and Chris Del Conte, right? And so, but Chris Del Conte, I want people who want to make something of this program, because Gary Patterson does have ties and does, had a really good relationship with Mac Brown even before Chris Del Conte and everybody else at Texas. That's how long he's been around. We're talking about somebody with 181 wins and only 79 losses, 11-6 in bowls. Like, he's got skins on the wall, like in terms of building something up. It's amazing. Defensive foundation is amazing. Where I say I can't get to love yet is because fear of the unknown. I don't know what his role is. I don't know, I don't know if he'll be a field coach. I don't know if they talk about this idea of being a collegiate GM. What exactly does that mean? And does that turn around things like this before? I admire Texas for trying to get creative. I admire Texas for saying, you know what, and then maybe they didn't say this, but this is me as a fan thinking this out loud, Tran. I admire Texas for taking somebody that may have been able to go to a rival. Maybe he goes elsewhere around the state, which then impacts recruiting against us. So sometimes it's like better to have the enemy close to you and on board than have the guy go to OU and start working with BB, right? And so, or whatever. Because like you said earlier, DFW is very, very, it's an area that we have to
It's fertile ground. It's fertile ground. That and Houston are very prime pickings for athletes. The thing, I agree with you. And I'm not going to get caught into the unknown of the whole Texas football program, not just this one hire. But the thing about it is the reason why he's brought in is to help out with the defense. My big thing is he will put his athletes in a position to succeed. My big question is, are we going to see the same type of tough athletes that TCU had? Because you had those guys who would just get in your face, and the defensive backs were just ruthless. I'll never forget. I forgot who it was who was guarding Colin Johnson, who just owned him, just from a physicality standpoint. Are we going to have it? Are we going to have that same physicality and that same toughness at all three levels of the defense? And that's what I hope he brings to this program.
Yeah, I think that was the brother that went to the Vikings that ended up.
It's like, yeah, he got in trouble.
What was his name? Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. Jeff Gladney.
Yeah, it wasn't Morgan.
It was Gladney.
It was Gladney. Yeah.
Yeah, but but to your point on identity, Morig's had a good rookie year in the league. Guys that would just have that dog in them across the board. Even other positions, defense. You think of like the Jerry Hughes of the world, things like that. But again, Tran, is he going to be coaching the DBs? I'm sure he'll have input or insights of how Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon should work. But I think I just don't know what like the day-to-day will look like in terms of the interaction. Because my thing is, if we're talking like that, is he going to be around them enough to impact the culture and have that traditional boom stamp of the Gary Patterson label? Because here's my other fear. His previous relationship with Chris Del Conte, because this is Texas and we love drama, you now have a potential replacement hanging over people's heads. Period. Now, one could say, Steve, I don't give a damn about that. They need to perform, and they shouldn't be worried about potential replacement. That's actually a good thing. Maybe the pressure will make them do their jobs better, right? In terms of position coaches, all the way through PK. That's one way to look at it. I've also known that Texas sometimes has been a very uncomfortable working environment, and some of these coaches come here, and all of a sudden they're not doing what they were doing everywhere else, and then they leave, and it's like, well, yeah, I've never coached under those type of circumstances. It was weird, right? Politics got involved, and I'm not saying politics is involved here. I think Texas did a good job of layering it and vetting it out, but we're not going to get the benefit of the doubt, and so don't get mad, Texas fans, when people say boosters are meddling and all that type of stuff. We're going to get that label until we start winning again.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't bother me, right? Like the meddling stuff, I don't really care about that because people are going to say that. We nobody even got fired from the defense. The only transition we had was Stan Drayton taking a head coaching job, and then Andre Coleman getting let go, and they were on offense. So from a defensive standpoint, we've actually stuck with continuity after a 5-7 season and recruited well, but people are still always going to, the naysayers are always going to point to the meddling stuff. So don't even indulge into that conversation. I'm just saying, if PK's defense starts to go south again, or, we get embarrassed in one of these big games, those whispers will become chants for Gary Patterson to take over. You're talking about someone that has more experience as a head coach than the head coach we have right now,
Mm-hmm.
Steve Sarkisian. So what is the work environment going to be? All of that stuff, they have to sort through that. Hopefully they've taken the time to already sort through the workings of that. And maybe it's a fluid situation. I don't know. Fear of the unknown for me, though.
One of the things that you brought up was you don't know what he's going to have his fingerprints on. To me, if he's already at summer workouts and ingraining himself with the team, I think it's going to be all over the defense, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I don't know the rules behind it. I know coaches can't be at summer workouts. Did we get creative and we were like, hey, we're going to have a summer coach that's
I think GAs and stuff can though.
Yeah. So
like not that like or like people that are not responsible for like recruiting or like stuff like that. Because I don't think he'll be traveling around the state. I think he'll just be making connections with people.
Yeah, I think you can only have a handful of recruiters, right?
Yeah, it's like 10 right now. So,
and I think we have all those positions filled.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm saying is like maybe he sinks. Of course, he sinks with Sark every single day, but he's at the workouts, but he's the head coach during the workouts with us getting a little grimy and playing the game, trying to get better.
This is the other thing. One of the other caveats here that I think is important to note, and I want to bring this up here. We would get the benefit of the doubt more in this scenario again if we were winning. Nobody would be asking any of it. Everybody would just say, "This is great," and I think everybody on the fan base wants Gary here. That's not what I'm saying, but I think there wouldn't even be the doubts that I have. I'll be honest with you. If we were coming off of a 9-win season or whatever, where things really, really look good, and we didn't have some of the doubts, I'd be like, I wouldn't even be asking anything. I wouldn't even care what his role was.
You'd be a home run. It'd just be a home run no matter what.
And I'm not saying I'm just saying I'm trying to be objective here, because some people, I'm not like some of these OU fans where no matter what the school does, home run, grand slam, hire. I'm not like that. All right. Like, let's actually talk through this. I really, really like it.
Yeah.
I just want to see what the day-to-day plays out and what this looks like, because if things go south and it turns into, how we are, it's going to turn into, well, Gary needs to take over the whole thing. And now we're a mess again.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So TBD on more of the Gary stuff, but welcome to Texas. Excited to have somebody on that's as, brilliant of a football mind and as accomplished as one Gary Patterson. As we introduce somebody coming in, we got to say goodbye to somebody leaving. Um, so, Dicker the kicker, thank you for your service. Cameron Dicker announces that he is entering the NFL draft and came out, wrote a letter, long time at Texas, awesome college career as a kicker. And then this past year took over punting duties full time.
Mm-hmm.
Tran, I think the punting aspect is what kind of swayed things here because he took off last season and was a Ray Guy semifinalist as a punter.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Dicker was your guy, man. What are your thoughts here, man? As we say goodbye to Dicker the kicker.
So I'm a fan of his. I'll always remember the walk off field goal against OU as my first OU game. Uh, he middle part of his career he was a little inconsistent, and he got better, especially during his senior year. I think the last half of the season it seemed like he was pretty automatic. I don't have the stats in front of me, but he I know in high school he was the top kicker coming out of high school, and he was a pretty good stalwart for us at that position. I know we had a recruit that is pretty good to back him up, but I wish him well. We are kicker U here for the NFL. I think we have Michael Dixon and Justin Tucker as all pros in the NFL today. I think it was announced last week or something like that. So hopefully he can give them a little competition because they need some.
Even Devin Duvernay was
Yep,
the
Devin
kick
Duvernay.
return
Yep.
all pro.
So appreciate everything you've done for the University of Texas. I know you're going to be a great ambassador of ours, and I hope you have a great career in the NFL.
Dicker, only thing I'll add to that, I think that was great. I think his future sounds like it'll be at punter. Obviously, he'll his experience, he's done both. But when you punt at the level he did and really didn't train full time, it's almost kind of like reverse Justin Tucker-ish, where Justin Tucker was our punter first for a minute, like exclusively, and then took over field goal kicking duties. And everybody's like, whoa,
he's pretty
that's
good.
that's his future, right? And so, best of luck, like you said. And I think to your point, the track record of this program with the kicking is a real thing now with what some of these teams may be looking at. And so, best of luck to Cameron. Replacing him, that's now two positions that will be replaced. Obviously Ryan Bashevsky. If we start with the punter side, Bashevsky was out with the torn ACL and just real bad knee injury. Still have Isaac Patterson, who's also from Australia. So you have some options there for those guys to battle it out over the spring and through fall camp. On the kicker side, we do bring in a freshman in I believe the guy's name is Will Stone. Mm-hmm. And then we have the other one with the big hair that they let him kick a few extra points. Burt Allburn, who has a fantastic college name.
Yep.
So and we brought in another
transfer.
That's
my kicker. That's my kicker.
Burt Allburn.
Yeah,
you want the
that's
hair?
my kicker. No, I'm good. But one thing we also forgot to touch on with Dicker was he may be the best onside kicker I've ever seen in my life.
He always gave
the way he
got the right bounce.
The second bounce he hit it every single time, which it's I know college scouts will probably look at that. I mean, NFL scouts will probably look at that more in detail, but it was fantastic. Like every single time, it was perfect popped up where it was up for the kicking team to actually go and get. So he's got a career, I think.
Great kid too. So yeah. wish him well. And it is a loss for Texas that, like I said, we have to overcome. Guys, let us know in the comments how you feel about Gary Patterson, this move. If you like it, love it, man, how are you feeling? If you have any insight on what you think his role will be, or if you have a preference of what you want, what you want to see. You know, I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited Gary's here. I really, really like the move. I just have some questions that hold me back from loving the move. That's just being clear. Doesn't mean I'm a hater or
Yeah.
anything like that. Okay. But y'all head up BUSR. Many of you are going to be betting this weekend on a myriad of things. Many of you are betting right now on college basketball. Some great college basketball matchups, still coming. Again, player prop bets out there, Super Bowl bets, UFC this weekend. We've got a lot going on. Hit up busr.com/fanatic. Let's get some money. Sports
Yes, sir.
100 FP. There's that promo code there. Tran and I,
We're doing parlays on divisional round and we don't know what our parlay is going to be for the UFC, but Nurmagomedov, we're picking. 100%.
we will post the UFC parlay that we do. We're going to do a 3-fight parlay, and we'll post what we end up doing. But hit up busr.com/fanatic and use that promo code. It's on us. Guys, I appreciate y'all. As always, Tran, thank you, brother. Horns always up.